Oops. Oh well. Okay, good morning. Happy Easter, happy Passover. Welcome back to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading, Massachusetts. My name is Andy Gatchell, and I'm a member of the worship arts team. My pronouns are he and him. Our mission statement declares that the UU Church of Reading is a welcoming place to nurture and explore individual spirituality, build a committed and loving community, and heal the world. We are an intentionally inclusive congregation serving communities north of Boston and beyond. We welcome you, no matter your age, gender identity, sexual orientation, differing abilities, religious background, spiritual beliefs, or political perspective. For those here in person in the sanctuary, the ushers will be happy to help you if you need assistance of any kind. For those of you who are participating online, the order of service and worship script are available in the YouTube description and the chat. If this is your first time with us, live or on YouTube, we would like to extend you a special welcome. Please visit our webpage, uureading.org, for more information about UUCR. There you can find details about our church community, sign up for the weekly newsletter, and find the contact information from Melissa Martin, our member coordinator, who can answer your questions. Each Sunday, UUCR gives away half the money received in our collection plate to a nonprofit organization that shares our UU values. It's a simple yet powerful way for each of us to help heal the world by learning about and supporting the good works of charitable organizations and becoming more involved in our community. And on our Earth Day, our Green Sanctuary team has selected the Massachusetts Climate Action Network, MCAN, as our Share the Plate recipient for the month of April. MCAN is a statewide network of city and town-based organizations working to address climate change. It also advocates at the state and regional level to decrease climate change causing pollution and improve statewide energy and climate policies and programs. As we continue to focus on the ways in which we can all combat climate change, we encourage you to give generously to support both the Massachusetts Climate Action Network and the mission of UUCR. Thank you. Later in the service, we will pass the plate for you to share in our effort to support MCAN and our beloved congregation. If you're new here, please know that your presence is gift enough in itself, because we want you to know everything. Sorry, huh? We want everyone joining us to know something. You belong here. You belong here maybe for just the next hour, though we hope for longer. You belong here, and we are happy to have you with us.
Good morning. I'm Katie. Thank you. I'm Katie McQuaige-Lucas, your ministerial intern, and my pronouns are she and hers. Our opening words this morning are by Ken Sawyer. We all know this time of year, up and down, back and forth, crocuses, and then snow, gray chill, and then warm sun. We know about transitions. We know about Passover's sweet and bitter, grapes and horseradish, forward and back. We know about transitions, triumphs and tragedies, palm-strewn streets of celebration, and the tearful watch after loss, back and forth, up and down. Through it all, may our love abide, and hope, and courage, and the certain faith that even grayness shall give way in time to the sunlight, and the earth to fruit and flower. Now I'd like to invite forward the Getz family and the Figueredo family to light our chalice. Forward. Various people are coming forward to light our chalice from various directions. All right.
In the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the holiness we seek. Do you want to stand up? And as we do each week, we'll do our children's affirmation, which reminds us what it means to be Unitarian Universalists. Let's everybody do this together. We are Unitarian Universalists, the Church of the open mind, the loving heart, and helping hands. Thank you, Getz family.
Good morning, everyone. Wasn't that a beautiful collection of young people doing the chalice lighting this morning? Here they are. All right, thank you, guys. Our opening hymn today is For the Beauty of the Earth, and it is one of my favorites. It's probably in the top 5 of many of yours as well. People love this hymn, and I was asked to, sort of recall how it felt learning it as a young UU, hoping to sit still through services. And it was, I think people like it because the song, we're gonna sing 2 verses of this, gives us a chance to voice our appreciation for the many taken for granted blessings that are all around us. We open our eyes to the beauty of the earth and our hearts to the love that we feel among family and friends. And this hymn just puts it in very clear words. It's why it's often sung at Easter, it's often sung in spring, it's often sung by children's choirs, because it's just, plain good stuff. Learning it as a child, I was 6 or 7, trying to put together my ideas about God in a Unitarian church. I found this hymn made sense to me. Everything was, something that I could grasp. And I especially like the 3rd verse, which we've chosen to sing today. For the joy of ear and eye, for the heart and mind's delight, hill and vale, tree and flower, sun and moon, stars of light. That's pretty much everything. And we're singing about all these gifts that are given to us freely just by being born. Please rise in body or spirit, and let's sing our opening hymn, For the Beauty of the Earth. We'll sing verse 1 and 3, and you don't even have to think about it. The words are in your order of service.
Source of all
soon. Thank you very much.
This is the time in our service when we call forward our children and anyone else who would like to come forward, sit down on the rug, maybe stretch out for a time for all ages. And today is Easter Sunday, and we are all staying in the service today. And after time for all ages, we'll go back to our seats. There'll be time to sing, to reflect, to light candles. Welcome, everybody, on Easter Sunday. Thanks for being here.
All right. Welcome, everybody. So I have a question. I wonder how many of you have had a visit from the Easter Bunny? Anybody? Yeah? Nice. The Easter Bunny. I remember one year when I looked out in my yard and there were 2 bunnies hopping around. It was amazing on Easter. I felt like they had come just for me. Well, today is Easter Sunday. I think you all know that. And in the Christian tradition, there is a story here about the importance of life and love, and also about death and remembrance. And you will hear a little bit more about that and about the Christian tradition as we move toward our prayer time. But I have a question for you kids. Did you know that Easter gets its name from the direction of the east where the sun rises? True thing. It's where each new day begins. And in ancient times, people looked at the sky and the earth to help them understand the turning of the seasons and the cycles of life. Now, there are ancient stories about a goddess who was named Ostara. Actually, her other name was Eostre. Sounds like Easter, doesn't it? And Ostara birthed the springtime and roused the earth from its winter sleep. And it is said that Ostara slept below the ground, and she woke up each springtime to walk in the fields and the woods and to warm the earth so that plants would burst and spring forth, and animals would create new homes and have babies and make new families.
And I am bringing forward the voice of the goddess, the spirit Ostara, this morning. And I used to and still do sleep underground during the cold winter months. And when I wake in the spring, I come forward and I bring my warmth that returns to me, and I walk the fields and I walk through the woods, and I bring warmth, and the soil softens, and the worms and the grass shoots sprout up through the grass, through the soil, through the land. And as I walk through the land, the animals wake, and they bring forward the spirit of life, creating babies and families.
Now, it's been springtime here and warm for the past week or so, but today it's a little bit colder. Out in Chicago, I heard it was 20 degrees, so it was still feeling like winter. Yeah. Ostara seems to have slept a little bit later this year, perhaps, and some of us have wondered, when is it going to really be warm? Well, there was one year that the cold and the ice and the snow stayed very late into the springtime.
You see, I do sleep underground when it's cold, and I love my winter sleep. And sometimes I don't always wake up on time. And there was that year that I woke very late. And when I woke, The earth was hard, the sky was gray, the wind was really bitter and sharp, and I walked and I tried to bring forward my warmth, but it was slow going, and it wasn't happening fast. And I happened upon a beautiful little bird. This bird had trusted that I would be back for spring and didn't know that I would be late. And when that bird arrived, there was no place to take shelter, and the insects had not yet returned, so that bird had nothing to eat, and she fell to the ground, and there she was. I found her in a puddle, half frozen, near death.
Well, Ostara was shocked and so sad to see this dear little bird lying there, nearly lifeless. And she picked it up like she just did and rubbed its tiny heart to warm its soul. And she drew upon all the warmth in her power and breathed life back into that bird, who fluttered a little bit and opened her eyes. I see you have a friend who's helping you to take care of the bird. Well, Ostara held the little creature until the bird felt truly warm and began to sing her own song of spring. And as the bird sang, the earth began to soften. The soil warmed and stretched. Ostara's own warmth yet again blessed the earth and all her plants and animals as springtime returned.
I was so grateful that that little bird returned to life, and I was so sad that my carelessness and my oversleeping had caused her and possibly other creatures so much harm. I've never slept quite that late again. We became good friends. She was quite magical because she had received some of the warmth that I have from my power. And she and I traveled the land, and she sang, and as she sang her song, the world got even warmer. And we were friends, bringing springtime once again to the land. We were making our way through a field, and we came up over a rise, and we came upon a field where we saw rabbits. Rabbits so excited about being alive because it was springtime. They were doing their mad dance, their mad excited dance, except for this one rabbit, this one white rabbit who stood tall and proud and gazed upon us. And my little bird friend saw that rabbit. Their eyes locked, as did their hearts. And together I could see that they wanted to be family. My little bird looked at me. She was so sad. She was looking at me as though, how could I ever be with this wonderful tall rabbit? How could I go off to live in family with this rabbit? And so I drew upon my warmth and my magic again, and I turned her into a white rabbit to stand next to the jack.
And those rabbits hopped off into the field, and together they would live and love for a very long time. The next spring, Ostara made sure to wake on time. And when she rose from her winter sleep, the earth was still chilly and gray. And she made her way and was doing her best to warm up the ground when she came over the hill to a great field. And in that field, she saw rabbits, rabbits everywhere. And at the edge of the field, she saw her old friend, and the tall white rabbit was next to a nest, their nest. And in that nest were 5 eggs, 5 beautifully colored eggs. Our little bird became a rabbit through magic, and through magic, as a rabbit, she now had laid eggs. And it is said that she was the first Easter bunny.
And so in springtime, our thoughts turn to new life, to energy, to excitement, to dances, to eggs. that remind us of so much possibility and represent new life, of chicks that are so soft and fluffy. And we bring forward each year, hopefully, drawing upon warmth from each other, hope to go forward into a new season, to grow new things, new ideas, maybe even new people, new families, each springtime, meeting spring rising again.
So friends, in a moment, we're going to go back to our seats. Ostara has brought eggs for all of us, and there are activities in our busy boxes, and there are coloring sheets. We've got candles to light and songs to sing. So much to do. So with thanks to Ostara for her visit, let's now join and sing one verse of All Creatures of the Earth and Sky. You don't need to stand up, and the words are printed in your order of service. This day of celebration and praise. We light candles first of blue and yellow to embody our continuing support and love for the brave people of Ukraine who prove every day that they will not give up. They will not give in. They will not fade away. And we light this white candle to honor all those who call this church their spiritual home, those who have been here and left and returned, those who have arrived as newcomers to join in celebration and support, those who have been here and remain still. We also honor and recognize those who join us remotely for worship. We particularly give thanks for the continuing commitment of Sharon Tates, Judy Riley, Bill Grace, David and Joyce Adamson, Douglas Kidd, Wanda McLaren, and all others who join us through the magic of technology. We see you. May this light, these lights, continue to illuminate our commitment to one another and the reality that we are truly stronger together.
On Easter Sunday, the story of Jesus in Christian tradition marks the last days, the death, and the rising of Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus lived 2,000 years ago, and in his time he was a teacher, a healer, and a prophet to many. He spoke a message of radical care and compassion for friend and stranger in a time and place where people had very little. He lost his life to powerful people who were threatened by his teachings of generosity and love. His story tells us that after he died, his body was placed in a tomb, a cave, to keep it safe from wild animals. A great stone was placed in front of that cave, and the next day, it's believed that his mother and his beloved friends came to prepare his body for burial. When they arrived, that great stone was moved, and his body was gone. His friends told stories of seeing him in the next days and weeks.
that he lived on and continued to preach. His rising from death is called a resurrection, and it is an important part of this story in Christian tradition. Resurrection means to rise from death. Some people believe this story as it is written. Some people believe that this story can symbolize how we might live on after our bodies die, in memory, in the love and affection of others. Some people believe that Jesus' friends just missed him so much they just couldn't believe he was gone. You may or may not wonder about this chapter in the life of Jesus. His stories and others are in the Christian Bible, have informed Unitarian Universalists for hundreds of years. While we cannot know what actually happened in time 2,000 years ago, we do know that his message of love and generosity toward all people speaks to us still today. And we don't live long before we learn about love and loss. We don't live fully human lives without having to let go. And we can understand how much we want to hold on to all that we love, with hope that we might all truly be together in spirit, both here on earth and maybe even after this life. We know that life and death hold mystery and wonder, and we turn to each other to remind ourselves that right here and now, we are never alone.
At an interfaith event a few years ago, Sikh leader and activist Valerie Carr asked, "What if this is not the darkness of the tomb, but the darkness of the womb?" The grief of loss and the joy of new life are connected, one leading into and the other arising out of great mystery. Both our grief and our joy come from our encounter with that mystery as we respond to it in love. Please join with me in prayer. Great mystery, source of all, open our hearts to our interdependence. Help us to know that we are connected, that we are never truly alone, but share our lives with our communities. Open our hearts to hope, to the awareness of the renewal of the world in this season, and in the seasons of our many beliefs and traditions. May we remember that like the sunrise, truth and hope always arise anew. We pray this morning, as we so often must pray, that peace and liberation will overcome war and oppression. We pray that love will overcome fear. We pray that sadness will give way to joy, and we pray for healing for those who are in pain. As winter gives way to the abundance and beauty of spring, we pray for more joy, more beauty, and more justice in our lives. May we remember that it is we who enact the work of love and spirit in this world. And so may we seek and find opportunities to bless one another and to be blessed in return. May it be so, and blessed be. You are now invited to come forward to light candles for your own prayers, be they candles of sorrow, hope, or love. Please come down the center aisle if you can and return around the sides so we don't bump into each other too much.
Our reading is Look to This Day by Kalidasa. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief course lie all the verities and realities of your existence. The bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of achievement are but experiences of time. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision, and today, well lived, makes yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. Such is the salutation to the ever-new dawn.
Thank you, Thea. In faith communities, there is a long-held opinion, informed by a long-standing behavior, to be sure, that during the high holy days and Passover, if you are any kind of a Jew, you show up for services. And in Christian congregations, if you are any kind of a Christian, then we're likely to find you in the virtual or actual pews on both Christmas and Easter. The Easter story is central to Christian faith. And of course, as you might have gathered from our earlier conversation with the goddess Ostara, a number of the traditions that we hold as familiar and dear come not from Christianity or Judaism, but from the pagan and goddess worship formed in ancient Greek, Roman, and Germanic cultures. As you now know, Ostara was an important figure in that early story of spring. Her other name was Eostre, and if you think that sounds like it's connected to Easter, well, you're right. Ostara used to fly around, lifted by beams of light, traveling with her hair and her egg. Her story seems to have risen from Germanic and Norse traditions, and documentation exists of worship of Ostara or Eostre from the 8th century onward. Water drawn on the Easter morning was said, like that at Christmas, to be holy and healing. And in ancient times, it was traditional that maidens were clothed in white to mark the season of returning spring. In fact, Ostara Eostre embodied the divinity of the radiant dawn, of upspringing light, whose role was to bring joy and blessing to the people. In the old times, bonfires were lit at Easter, and according to popular beliefs of long standing, the moment when the sun rises on Easter Sunday morning, Eostre's rabbit gave 3 joyful leaps, dancing for joy. But what of the tomb and the story of resurrection and new life that is so central to the well-known Easter story? Several accounts of the betrayal of Jesus, his trial, crucifixion, death, and resurrection exist in the Bible. The story goes that Jesus was mocked for his role as a teacher who had shared his opinions with others. And making another connection between these springtime holidays, you may remember, since this is now also the time of Passover, that the Last Supper at which Jesus was betrayed was a Seder. And when Judas betrayed Jesus, he was brought to be judged, found guilty, and led away for crucifixion. Jesus died on the cross, and after death, his body was given to a man named Joseph, a member of the governing tribunal in the town, who asked Pilate for Jesus' body to prepare it for burial inside a tomb of rocks. The story continues that those preparing the body placed it in the tomb, intending to return with perfumes, incense, and other elements for ritual burial. But first, the people went home to observe the Sabbath, as was their practice. And when they returned, they moved the stone away and found the tomb empty. Now, the account of this time in the book of Luke concludes after a mysterious encounter with two men in dazzling clothes who had appeared seemingly out of thin air. The men reported that Jesus was not present in the tomb, but had risen, as he was predicted to have done on the third day after his death. And that's the core story. A teacher and a prophet is betrayed, tried, and killed. He is laid to rest in a tomb, and when others return, the body is gone. And from that, the story builds as those who followed the teachings of Jesus continued to share his wisdom and his prophecies, which in turn built adherence to the faith that became Christianity. Now, I will admit to you that Easter is not my holiday. I can get down easily with the bunnies, the chicks, the strawberries, the increased sunlight, and I can definitely connect to the turning of the wheel of life and to the notion of rebirth of the land. As the poet Algernon Swinburne wrote, "Blossom by blossom, the spring begins." But what of the darkness, the betrayal, the endings that always come before beginnings? Last week in worship, we talked about the importance of covenants and specifically mentioned Moses' journey to help the Jews escape from Egypt and get to the promised land. Their journey was hard and long, 40 years in the Sinai desert alone. What comes from such journeys and the attendant despair that often accompanies us through times of transition? The adaptive leadership theorist William Bridges actually references Moses' journey in his teachings as he raises an important point. When we are traveling from one paradigm or leaning toward another, we must be willing to exist for a time in the neutral zone. Impatient as that may make us to get where we want to go, it is also critical to be able to pause, to reflect, to look around and see what has happened, and to learn from it in order to continue to grow. Part of the Easter story is about fully entering and existing in the neutral zone. The celebration of Jesus as teacher and even Lord, the way in which he drew others, who some called disciples, around him, those were significant elements in his elevation to the status of prophet and sage. And along with Jesus' status as an engaging and compelling teacher came resentment and fear, for those elements always come when powerful and magnetic figures dot our landscape. While transformation, journeying, or change is taking place, the effort to get to that next important place requires space and transition. And sometimes it means that we exist in a place that is neither the future nor the past. It is liminality as we wait for wisdom to guide us on the next part of our journey. In the case of the story of Jesus' death and resurrection, the next part of the story came with the Sabbath, as those who were preparing Jesus' body for its final rest also took space to observe a time of prayer and reflection. The people entered a neutral zone of their own, and when they emerged from that pause in their actions, marked by the Sabbath, there they found an empty tomb. It is from that place of barrenness in the tomb, from the abject loss and despair that greeted Jesus' followers upon his death and the mysteries of what would happen next, that the effort to share Jesus' story and that of his followers developed. And out of the suspicions that followed Jesus' travels and teachings, what was left? Most enduringly, there arose the message of the ways in which we must all care for one another, and of the need for lives where we embody love through our actions. As the Reverend Ken Reed Brown said, if Jesus' message was above all a message of love, then it seems to me that, if nothing else, the stories of the resurrection teach us that you can kill a man, but love has a way of rising again and again, particularly if we provide the care and nourishment that love needs to grow and thrive. With this in mind, we could think of ourselves as gardeners of the Spirit. Reed Brown asks, what sort of care and nourishment does love need to grow and thrive? There are the habits of the heart, such as mutual respect and kindness. The good news about religious communities is that we are offered many opportunities to grow love by showing respect and kindness to one another. The biblical story of Jesus and the tomb that makes up the Easter story offers us, no matter our beliefs, an opportunity to begin again. Truly, the winter is past. Flowers bloom again. The sun has risen on this new day, and in the same way, the possibilities that exist for this faith community are palpable, as if illuminated by this Easter sunrise. Let us then, as in the words from the book of Nehemiah, arise and rebuild this community. UU poet May Sarton's words call to us. Help us to be ever faithful gardeners of the Spirit, who know that without darkness nothing comes to birth, and without light nothing flowers. Your former minister, the Reverend Jane Jepka, wrote this Easter prayer that captures the promise of the light as it returns to our lives. O Spirit of life and renewal, we have wintered enough, mourned enough, oppressed ourselves enough. Our souls are too long cold and buried, our dreams all but forgotten, our hopes unheard. We are waiting to rise from the dead. In this season of steady rebirth, we awaken to the power so abundant, so holy, that returns each year through earth and sky. We will find our hearts again, our good spirits. We will love and believe and give and wonder and feel again the eternal powers. The flow of life moves ever onward through one faithful spring and another, and now another. Let all who are part of this faith community proclaim that this was the day when the darkness ended. Let all of us embrace the moment when the light broke through with warmth to draw us toward the promise of a new day. Blessings to you and yours in this day of promise and hope. And now I invite you to sing another verse of All Creatures of the Earth and Sky. You may remain seated. Embracing earth, you day by day, bring forth your blessings on our way. Hallelujah, hallelujah. All herbs and fruits that richly grow, let them the glory also show. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah,
Now is the moment to share our financial support for the ongoing mission of UUCR. If you're a newcomer, sharing your time with us is more than generous enough. For our offertory today, online donations can be made using the link provided in the chat or by clicking Donate at our website, uureading.org. Folks in the sanctuary can find an easy-to-use QR code on the back of the printed order of service, or can leave a physical donation of cash or check in the offertory plates, which I guess we're passing down the aisle. Okay then. Ask our ushers if you need assistance. Please give generously to our Share the Plate offering to support both Massachusetts Climate Action Network and the mission of UUCR. The morning offering will be gladly given and gratefully received.
When the waves roll on over the waters and the ocean cries, we look to our sons and daughters to explain our lives.
Rise again. Thank you for that, choir. It was absolutely beautiful. I am Melissa Martin, your Member Services and Volunteer Coordinator and your Interim Congregational Administrator, and my pronouns are she and her. We are so happy to see so many of you here with us in the sanctuary, as well as those of you who have checked in with us online to say hello. Thank you to our friends of all ages for making this Easter service wonderful in so many ways, both here in the sanctuary and those behind the scenes on our online service. Thank you to those who provided the beautiful chancel flowers. They're listed in our order of service. And thank you, Marcia Kent, for the beautiful care you took to make this possible. As you know, our conversation circles have now ended. However, there's still an opportunity for you to provide your input in this process. Please check your email this week for a survey with the themes that arose from the conversation circles. You'll be asked to answer 7 questions about your own opinions on the themes regarding where the church is, where it's going, and what you hope for in a new minister. It should take you no more than 5 to 10 minutes to fill out, and we do hope that you will as soon as you receive the survey. On behalf of the Strategic Planning Committee and the Committee on Ministry, thank you for participating. And in addition to our regular congregational life offerings, we have 5 special opportunities for engagement that we would like to invite you to. The first is for all new friends of UUCR. Next Sunday, April 24th, Deb and I are offering a starting point workshop, an introduction to our faith and to our congregation, and we would love for you to join us. If your child is being raised in our church community and you'd like to have your child be included in our next dedication service, please be in touch with us this week. The dedication service is scheduled for May 1st. And our next invitation is for everyone. UUCR has supported the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute for many years by participating in the annual Mother's Day Walk for Peace, and we will be participating this year. If you would like to join us, please look in the newsletter for more information. The next invitation is also for everyone. UUCR is returning to Ferry Beach this year, and everyone is invited to join us. Look for registration information in the newsletter. You guessed it, final invitation is a save the date for everyone. The North Shore Pride Parade is in person this year on Saturday, June 25th, and we hope you'll mark your calendars and join us. For today, our families who are here with us in the sanctuary are invited to stay for our treasure hunt at the end of service, and all are invited to join us for our social hour out back. It's by the Sawyer Playground today. It's hosted by the RE team and coffee made by Montserrat. Thank you. Those of you joining us online are invited to join fellow congregants on our Zoom social hour hosted by David Adamson. Thank you, David. Thank you for being a vital part of our congregational life, and we hope that you enjoyed this beautiful Sunday. Please join us by rising in body or spirit and singing our closing hymn, number 61 in the gray hymnal, Lo, the Earth Awakes Again.
not sure that mic's on. And now I'd like to invite the Figueredo family forward to extinguish our chalice.
Do I read the first part? Just read the whole thing? Okay.
Whatever you want to read.
Oh, please join us, our chalice lighting words, which can be found in your order of service. Oh, sorry. We extinguish this flame, but not the truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment we carry in our hearts. Yes, we did it.
It takes a village. I love it. Thank you so much. And friends, if you would join once more in our congregational response, one more verse of all creatures in your order of service. All you of understanding heart, forgiving others, take your part. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Let all things now the holy bless, and worship God in humbleness. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Friends, life is short, and we have little time to gladden the hearts of those who travel with us. So let us be swift to love and hasten to be kind. Amen. Please be seated for our choral postlude.
Boom, 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 boom.